Hello everyone, welcome back to the series of Python Unleashed. My name is Ajay and this is just a continuation tutorial of my previous tutorial where we have learned about multiple inheritance, and we have a question at the end of the tutorial. For example, we had implemented this scenario where we have two class, like we have class student and class teacher, and then from these two classes we have a derived class that is called as the classroom. That is a classroom. Okay, now the question arises, if I have the same member function, the names of the member functions, if they are same in class student and in class teachers, as you can see we have the function name that is enter, display and display, and we can have the same if the same name of the function in the derived class also. Okay, but at this point I have kept a different name, that is enter room and display room. Okay, now let us talk about one scenario. If I create an object of a class that is classroom, if I create an object A of the class that is classroom, so obviously since this is a derived class and this is been derived from the class student and also from class teacher, so all the member functions of class student and the member functions of class teachers is accessible through the object of class that is classroom, right? So if I create a object A of the class that is, the name of the class is classroom, so obviously if I say a dot enter, so which function will get evoked? Will it evoke the function of the class student, or it is going to evoke the function of class teacher? Now this is what we need to understand. Also, and another scenario, like the if we talk about the constructor, so obviously I need to evoke the constructors, that is the init functions of class student and of class teacher, into the constructor of the class that is classroom, because that's up to the user, up to the programmer to evoke the init functions of the base classes, isn't it? So if I use the super function, if I use the super function and if I try to evoke the init function, so which function it is going to evoke, which init function it will evoke, of class student or of class teacher? Now that is the question. Now understand, the answer to this is Python internally implements a algorithm that is a MRO algorithm, that is method resolution order algorithm. Now this algorithm works in a way is like, if you try to access, if you create an object that is A of classroom, and if you try to evoke a dot enter, so what it does is it is going to check at the left hand side first. Okay, so if it finds a function that is enter at the left hand side, so it will evoke that function. Now just assume that this function does not exist, this enter is not here and it is only over here, and if I try to evoke the function that is a dot enter, now where the a is the object of classroom, so what it will do, the algorithm will first check whether there is a function with the name enter out here. If it doesn't find a function at the left hand side, then it moves to the right hand side, and at the right hand side if it finds a function, then it is going to evoke that function. Okay, now this is the theoretical part. Now let us just implement this in Python for a better understanding. So let's switch to Python. Now this was the program that we had implemented in my previous tutorial. So one by one we'll just go through it. That is the class student, and we have a function that is enter and display. Also there is another class that is teacher, and we have the same function name, that is enter and display. And then we have a function, then we have another class that is classroom, which is derived from the class that is student and teacher, okay? And then we have the same function. So at this point I will just change the name of the function. I will say enter room and then display room. Okay, now I'll just delete this and I'll only keep this one. Now you can see out here I have created an object that is A, which is of the classroom, right? And now if I say a dot, and you can see if I say enter, you can see the function enter. Okay, now which function it is going to evoke? So as I have told you, as per the MRO, it is going to evoke the function of the left hand side. Okay, now how to understand what is left and what is right, because this is just a diagram. By looking at this diagram we can say this is left and this is right. But if you talk about the code, which is left and which is right, so if you see the signature of this, of the derived class, that is classroom, and if you pay attention over here, that is student and teacher, so this becomes the left and this becomes the right. If I make this as teacher, understand it, if I make this as teacher and this as student, okay, in this case this will become the left and this is going to become the right. Okay, and so obviously it is going to evoke the function of the class teacher now. Why? Because this is the left part now. Okay, and what we are going to do is, and another thing that we missed out is about the init function. Now it is up to the user to evoke the function, that is the init function of the derived class, not of the base class, I mean to say. So if I use the function that is super function, and using the super function, the super class of classroom comma self, and then that is dot, and I say init, and then again double underscore, and that's it. Okay, now if I say super class of classroom, so what is the super class of classroom? Now there are two classes that it is derived from. So what is it is going to do, as per the MRO, it is going to evoke the constructor of the class that is teacher. Why teacher? Because this comes at the left first. Okay, so it will evoke this function. So let us just, okay, I'll just change these messages, and then we will run this and let us prove the point how does the MRO actually works. Okay, let us run this now, and you can see it says class teacher out here. It is displayed class teacher. Why it is displayed class teacher? Because I created an object A of class classroom, so obviously this will evoke the function that is init, and in init I'm using a super function, and using the super function, so obviously super function, it has two base classes, so it will go to the left first, and from the left it has evoked this particular init function, and that is class teacher. So it has displayed class teacher, and now you can see that it is saying a dot enter. Okay, I said a dot enter. Now you can see a dot enter, this function does not exist over here, but it exists in the base class. And which base class? Teachers base class enter. It also exists in the another base class, that is student, but since this comes to the left first, so it has evoked this particular function, that is the enter. Okay, what if I just make a simple change out here, that is the signature, if I change this to student and this as teacher. Okay, now what comes to the left first? That is the student, isn't it? So let us run this, and you can see the change, that is you can see class student out here now, and it is asking for a registration number. Why? Because now at the left hand side we have the class that is student, so it evoked the constructor, that is this one, and then it evoked, that is a dot enter. When I say a dot enter, it basically evoked this particular function, and now it is asking me the registration number, since that's the statement, that is the first statement in the enter method. Okay, so this is how the entire thing works. Okay, now if I say, like, if I make this as enter, I remove this also, same, and now if I try to evoke a dot enter, now what I'm doing out here, I'm overriding the method that is enter, but which class method it is overriding? It is overriding the method that is at the left hand side. And which class that we have student, so it is basically overriding this particular method, that's the part of the class student, understand it? Okay, so if I try to run this now, I'll just, okay, just a minute. Now if I try to run this, and you see it is asking for the classroom number, and it is saying class student. Why class student? Because it evoked the function using the super class. Just a minute, I'll come to over here. So it's saying class student, but once I say a dot enter, this particular statement, it is basically evoking its own function because the name is same. So I'm overriding the method of the class student over here. So it is evoking the method enter of its own, isn't it? So this is how it works. Now, okay, now there are certain other things to what if I have to actually give a call to the enter method. I want to give this call to the enter, okay, but I want to give a call of the base classes. I want to evoke the method of student first, and then I want to evoke the method that is this one of the class teacher. First I will evoke the enter method of student, then I need to evoke the enter method of class teacher, and then its own method. Now how I can do that? Okay, let us see this. Okay, if we have to do this, now if I use a dot enter, then anytime it is, every time it is going to evoke its own method, right? But I want to evoke the method of the student and the teacher. Now how I can do this? This you can do it with the name of the class. Now what's the name of the class? That is student, and I will say okay, I just need student, and then I say pass the function and dot enter. In fact, I made a mistake out here. That is student dot enter over here. Okay, let us just run this now. Stop this and I run this again, and now you can see it is asking me the registration number. Now let us just understand this line of code, what I have done over here. Okay, this is the name of the class, that is student, then I say dot enter, okay, and I'm passing that object A. So what is happening over here? Basically I'm evoking the method that is enter of class student, and to the self argument, the self parameter, that is self, I am passing the reference of the object A. That's the meaning of this. Okay, similarly if I say teacher dot, and I say enter and A, so what is going to happen? It is going to basically evoke the method enter of the class teacher. Understand it? Okay, but before we do this, we need to resolve this constructor, because the super function basically will only evoke the constructor at the left hand side, that is student. If I want to evoke the constructors, that is the init function of both the classes, then in that case I just need to use the name of the class, that is student. Okay, student dot, and then I use the init function and then self, and that's it. And then again I will evoke the constructor of the class, that is teacher. Then I use the init double underscore and self. That's it. So this is how I am going to do this. Okay, now everything looks fine. Now what I will do is I will not use enter out here. I will just use the display function. Now display will only display the data, but by default there is no data present. I'm just assuming some 0 and some null string, isn't it? So it should display that data. So let us just run this. I'll close this, terminate, and again I will run this, and you can see out here, just focus out here, the constructor of student got evoked, then the constructor of teacher, that is the init functions, got evoked for both the classes, and then you can see that is the display function of student. It shows 0 0, and these are the null strings till here. Okay, and then for the teachers also it is showing 0, name is null, student is null, right? Because I have not accepted any data. So for accepting data, I just need to copy this, paste it over here, and just say enter, and then I will evoke the function of the teacher class, and at the last what I can do, I can simply use a dot enter. And what this means, this will mean that it will evoke the method of the object A, that is of the classroom. Okay, so I don't need to use the name of the class out here. and then at the last, that is a dot, then I say display. Okay, now let us run this and we will see the output. It is asking me for the registration number. I'll give 1, roll number as 1, name as Ajay, class I will give as 10, section as A. Then for the teacher ID, you can see out here, it is, I'll just give as 1, name I give it as Nitin, subject I'll give it as English, and then at the last it is asking me for the room number. I'll say as 12, name of the room I will not give anything, and the capacity is 40, and then you can see the complete output out here. Okay, why? Because I'm just displaying the functions. I'm evoking the function, that is display, using the class name first, and at the last just using the object. So understand how these things are working. So understand that as far as multiple inheritance is concerned, always remember when we have the functions with the same name, so there is a algorithm that is called as the MRO, which is internally implemented, and it will go and check first the left side and then it comes to the right hand side. And this is how the entire thing, this is how you can work with the same function name. If you have the same function name and if you want to evoke the functions of the base classes, so this is how you're going to do it. Okay, you just need to practice a bit. It's pretty easy. Okay, that's it for today. Bye for now.